Still plenty to digest in the aftermath of a historic day for the National Football League. A pair of overtime conference championship games. First time that's ever happened. And Peter King was in Kansas City. And after that epic victory by Tom Brady, the 13-play, 75-yard drive in overtime with 3 third and 10s converted along the way, Peter had the opportunity to sit down with Tom Brady and have a conversation. What were your big takeaways from your time with Brady in the locker room after the game?
Mike, I can just say this. I sat with him for 7 minutes on these little wooden stools in the visiting locker room, and there was mayhem around us pretty much. It was a jam-packed, shoulder-to-shoulder locker room, but I sat on the stool right next to him. And what was so interesting was that I'd say he was, as I wrote, he was kind of equal parts incredulous and grateful when I spoke to him, because I mean, at one point he said to me, and I'll quote, this is hard for me to imagine. 9 Super Bowls, I know, it's ridiculous. And so, I mean, he understands that going to 9 Super Bowls in 18 years is absolutely, it's probably something that's never going to happen again. It certainly is something that he never, ever could imagine, being the 199th player picked in 2000. But as far as this game goes, the most interesting part of this game is what he told me about the game planning for this game. He told me that they walked into, the players, the offensive players, walked into the meeting at 11 o'clock that morning, 6.5 hours before the game, at the Westin Crown Center Hotel, a ballroom there. And Josh McDaniels had 8 new plays to add to the game plan that these guys had to get up and walk through. They ended up running 4 of those plays during the game, all for positive yards. And so Brady's point was, he said, Peter, don't forget continuity when you talk about what we have done here. Ivan Fears, the running backs coach, he's been there 19 years. Dante Scarnecchia, with every year with Bill Belichick. Dante Scarnecchia, 17 of 19 on the offensive line. Josh McDaniels, 15 of 19, quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. That's what allows them to speak this language when the quarterback and all the influential coaches have been together. They can change on the fly and do things that appear to be impossible to do because they are able to speak the same language for such a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And the more comfort there is, the more continuity, as you say, the easier it is to figure out these problems, figure out what you need to do, spot the tendencies, spot the tells in your own game, in the opposing team's game, and be ready to go when it's time to get it done. Brady himself, did you get any impression from him? And I got the impression from reading your column that he does view this as one of his best performances ever. 6 Super Bowl wins potentially coming against the Rams, and what a bookend that would be. He started his career in his second season winning the Super Bowl over the Rams. 17 years later, here we are with the opportunity for number 6. You get any impression, any hint whatsoever that if he would win number 6, it would be, see you later, forget about playing until I'm 45, this is the right moment to walk off the stage?
I don't think so, Mike. I got asked that yesterday on Twitter, and I just can't see it. And again, I don't know anything. I don't really know Brady that well. I know him pretty well, but I don't. He's never even hinted at that to me, and I've never heard him hint that to anybody. The fact is, he loves, Mike, you would say, geez, there's no better way to walk off. Do a Jerome Bettis, do a John Elway. But he just isn't really wired like that. He likes every part of his job. He's going to love going to see Tom House in the spring in Los Angeles to work on throwing mechanics. He just absolutely loves it. He's told me 5 times over the years that there's nothing that I like doing better than playing football. Why would I volunteer? He told me this a couple of years ago. Why would I voluntarily leave the game if I'm still able to play? So I don't see him walking away.
There's something to be said, though, for walking away before it gets to the point where it's painfully obvious that you're struggling. And there was a point this year, Peter, where a lot of people almost gleefully suggesting that Father Time had finally caught up to him and whacked him over the head with the giant hourglass. And I think the popular opinion became that there was an injury that we didn't know about. And I can't help but wonder, and I don't believe that the rules require a player to disclose all injuries to the team. If you've got this side gig with Alex Guerrero where you can go get treatment on any injury you have and the team never has a record of it, the team never treats you for it, you handle it all on your own, then I guess that's a legitimate way. That's a loophole when it comes to concealing injuries. But if he had a knee injury, it never showed up on any of the injury reports. And the thinking now is that that's what went on, and now he's healthy. And if he can stay healthy, who knows how long he can continue. But at some point, Father Time will win. And if that's after he turns 45 and we never find out, so be it. But there's a chance between now and 45 it's going to happen. And the longer he hangs around, the greater the chance he's going to have kind of an ugly, sluggish, embarrassing end. And I think that in hindsight, he would say, probably would have been better to walk away when I was on top.
I just don't see it. And the reason is that he'll know, everybody will know, we'll all know. And I agree with you about the injuries. You know, remember a couple of years ago when there was the Giselle concussion thing? I mean, Tom Brady is not going to voluntarily ever say anything about an injury unless it's diagnosed by the team. It's, you know, he's got to get surgery or something like that. He just isn't going to do that. And, you know, the team can say basically Tom Brady, parentheses, leg, probable, you know, and so, and again, I don't think that is going to be the reason why he would ever walk away. I think he will walk away when he feels like, or when Bill Belichick goes and gets Tommy touchdown from Cal Lutheran, and Brady then has an option. Is he going to go play 1 year for somebody, or is he just going to retire? So, I mean, I think it's more likely going to be that, Mike, that he will confront the end of his career and he'll decide what to do. But I just think it's still a couple of years away at least.
What's your gut feeling? If the Patriots decide it's over before he decides it's over, would he go play that year or two, Joe Montana style, in Kansas City with another team?
I think he would. And I think events of this year may have something to do with it, Mike, and I'll tell you what I mean. You know, Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network put out his first mock draft this week, or last week, and he had the Patriots at whatever number, 31 or 30, whatever it is, picking Kyler Murray. And that really struck a chord with me, and I'll tell you why. Remember last year, I forget if it was Jeremiah, it might have been Jeff Darlington. I really forget who it was, but on the draft coverage that night, may have been Ian Rappaport, I just don't recall. On the draft coverage that night, somebody said that the New England Patriots earlier that week had spent time, with Baker Mayfield and were interested in Baker Mayfield. And obviously it didn't matter. He got picked number 1 overall. But that sort of told me that, okay, Josh McDaniels, here's your job. And whoever is going to be the guy who Belichick in his scouting department trusts the most. Tell me about the quarterbacks this year. If they're so serious last year with Baker Mayfield, what are they going to be this year? And obviously, I have no idea who's going to be left when you get down toward the end of the first round. But the other thing is, the Patriots have stockpiled some picks, haven't they? They have extra picks now in the top 3 rounds, and they easily could move around. And if they wanted to move up to whatever, 18 in the first round to get whoever, whether it be Kyler Murray or somebody else, I think this is the year where I will not be at all surprised to see the Patriots take the heir to Tom Brady.
I mean, they've got to do it. They can't do it after he's gone. They have to at least give that guy a chance to pick up something from Brady by osmosis, even if Brady wouldn't be all that willing to open the vault for the young quarterback. How do you think he would react to that?
Mike, I think if you ask Jacoby Brissett, maybe it's because Jacoby Brissett was non-threatening. I can't answer that because it appears, though, Jacoby Brissett had a better relationship with him than Garoppolo did, but I don't know that for sure. But you asked Jacoby Brissett, and Brady was the greatest guy in the world to him. So I believe that a new guy coming in, maybe it won't be Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes, here, kid, I'm going to help you take my job next spring. Maybe it isn't like that, but I believe that Brady would be magnanimous and would be willing, if the kid were humble enough, would be willing to help him.
I mean, because here's the thing. If he plans on playing through age 45, he turned 45 in August. He's got 4 more years that he wants to play.
He turned 42. Yeah, that's right.
He'll turn 42 in August.
But again, Mike, you talk like that. I agree with you. He might want to play until he's 45. But if at age 44 he throws 23 touchdowns and 21 interceptions, and he's 26th in the league in quarterback rating, he's going to have the hard conversation with Bill Belichick. Just my opinion, because Belichick will always do, in my opinion, I think what's best for the team overall. And again, now everything looks, swimming, everything's wonderful on the surface. But Belichick's going to get to that point with Brady at some point, because I think we both feel that Belichick's going to coach well into the future. And if he does, that day is probably going to come. And will Tom Brady play elsewhere? I believe if he has an opportunity to play elsewhere and he really wants to, absolutely he would. He will not do, in my opinion, if he's still healthy, what Dan Marino did when he almost went to Minnesota but just said, there's something about playing your whole career with one team. I think Brady would love to play his whole career with one team. But I think if he thinks he still can play and the Patriots don't want him, he'll go to Team X.
And, we always assume that above Bill Belichick at the ownership level, Robert, Jonathan Kraft, that they are committed to Tom Brady indefinitely. But how can you not look around at the league right now and see what this influx of young quarterbacks is doing? And look at how Brady was knocked down statistically relative to the top quarterbacks in the game this year by these young guys, and not feel like we better get ours while we can. Otherwise, we're going to get to a point where we feel desperate to find a quarterback, and there's going to be franchise quarterbacks all throughout the league, and we're not going to have one if we just play this out until Tom Brady leaves. So I agree with you. There's an urgency to find their young quarterback who can become a great young quarterback in the NFL after Tom Brady either walks away or is not.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.